very happy to be with you. Thank you, Prime Minister. Clearly, what we see is that the accession process is more than a process. It offers clearly a structural roadmap for reforms, which are important, certainly for Montenegro, but also, for the region and the other countries that are in the enlargement process, as you were talking regionally. But Montenegro has made huge efforts recently. We could see, the movie was talking about 3 chapters which were provisionally closed. In fact, it is 7 that are provisionally closed, and we hope to close 5 additional chapters before the end of the year, including some which are important, such as company law, services, and capital markets, and then conclude all the negotiation chapters by the end of next year, which, as you heard from the President von der Leyen, is clearly something that the Commission fully supports. Of course, Montenegro has to implement the reforms, but I think it is key when we are talking about investment because it creates transparency and predictability. And transparency and predictability are key for attracting investors. So that's one important element that we need to have in mind. It's not a process of closing the chapters just for closing the chapters, but it's really a process of transformation of the society and the economy and then attracting investment. Just to bounce on what Prime Minister said, as part of the enlargement process, I don't want to enter into the technicalities, but economic convergence is part of what we call the fundamentals. So it's not only rule of law, justice, good governance, but economic convergence is also part of it. So, that's to set a little bit the picture. You mentioned several initiatives that were taken. President and Prime Minister have been very clear. SEPA is a transformative. It's what we call gradual integration, basically working on some areas that are before even joining formally, before formal EU membership, but already getting the benefits of the single market. And the roam like at home, roaming charges, roam like at home, which is very important. You have that in the Balkans, but that extended that for next year. You mentioned good neighborly relations. We also have the common regional market. I think for the local companies of Montenegro, it's also an opportunity, to work already beyond the borders, to engage, to compete, to trade, even before joining the single market. How do we support that? Certainly by working hand in hand with the government to adopt the reforms and to get the laws not only adopted, but also implemented in practice. We provide important technical support for this multi-annual financial framework, 21-27. It's about 500 million euros that are provided to Montenegro in terms of technical assistance and support to reforms. On top of that, we have a lot of money from the regional funds, to support notably digitalization and the green agenda for the Western Balkans with some investment specifically here. Prime Minister mentioned the reform agenda, the growth plan for the Western Balkans. This is really innovative, and I'm very glad that Montenegro was keen, to take it up, because basically it's a new way of using EU financial support, agreeing on a reform agenda which was set by Montenegro, and then providing financial support for reforms implemented. And this is really a testimony of the dedication of Montenegro, to move towards implementing all these reforms. Now, investment is key, and part of the money is also going to support investment under the form of, for example, blended finance guarantees. We're working hand in hand with our partners from international financial institutions. But the reform and growth plan for the Western Balkans is 6 billion euros. The member states decided last year, to increase the budget, first time ever that the multi-annual financial framework was revised, to add money to support Western Balkans. It also showed, there is confidence from the member states and from the Council and from the EU as a whole in terms of investing in the Western Balkans. So I think this is clearly something which is important. Now, how to get to investment? Because as Prime Minister said, reforms and investment go hand in hand. You heard President saying it's time to invest now. So what are we doing at the Commission level to support that? We have the Western Balkan investment framework, which is helping to develop projects, working with partner financing institutions, supporting energy transformation, infrastructure, but also going beyond that. Because what is important is also to have the diversification of the economy. Tourism represents an important sector, but we can see a lot of potential. For example, in agri-food, you mentioned that, and I very much welcome the Farm to Fork initiative, which is really to see how this can help and can be linked also with tourism. Creative industries, digital, this is something which is also important and which Montenegro should better invest in. And of course, energy, as we mentioned, and digital. So for that, we are really providing financial support, technical support, but also political support. We launched a call for expression of interest. Some of the companies present here, responded to this call also to trigger some interest, but also to sound a little bit the market about the potential investment pipeline, to build a pipeline of transformative projects. And we are co-investing with the government into this AMI initiative, which is also shaping the future.